Do you actually need a design skill to build great apps? That's the question that I do get a lot. And the answer is yes. Here is why. We often find ourselves using certain popular applications on a smartphone without realizing how intuitive and user-friendly they are. We don't even need a guide with those applications, instead we can use them without any explicit instructions. You might not realize, but behind every great application there is a good UX and UI design. So, what does that mean exactly? Well, we will get back to those two concepts in a moment. But you need to understand that before you start building or developing your application, you do need to create a complete design project of your application. And even a prototype. There are a few reasons for that. You cannot build a house without the blueprint. Before you even start thinking about developing and programming, you need to have a complete and detailed design on how your application will look like and behave. Well-prepared and a clearly structured design project can reduce costs and the time spent on a rework in a development phase. It's certainly cheaper and more efficient to modify a design than to write the code all over again. Design documents and projects are often a great way of communication between designers and developers in a company. Each team can provide a proper feedback within the project by adding comments on certain parts of the design. And even if you are a solo developer, it's definitely a good choice to leave your own comments for the future tasks. Now, feedback is also important. And not just when you are testing your application in an isolated environment, when you already have a finished product. But creating a prototype of your application just from your design project is a good way to get an early information regarding different aspects of your application design. That way, you can improve your application workflow before you even start coding, which again saves a lot of time and effort. Now, I will briefly explain you the difference between UX and UI design. Those are two different but tightly related and similar concepts as well. UX stands for a user experience. It is used to describe how the product works and feels from a user perspective. A good UX means that the application feels natural and it's easy to navigate with. A good UX also helps the user by reducing the time spent when figuring out where certain options or features are located within the application. UX aims to ensure that the product meets the user's needs and provide a seamless, intuitive experience. UI, on the other hand, stands for the user interface. It describes how the product looks overall. However, it's more focused on the visual elements of the interface, such as typography, color schemas, buttons, icons, and the layout. UI designers are responsible for the aesthetics aspects of the product, ensuring that the interface is visually appealing and aligns with the brand's identity. So, tool number one which is used for UX and UI design is called Figma. That's a software that has everything you need to start working on your project design. You can design applications for mobile, web, desktop platforms, but also other vector resources like icons, illustrations, and more. If you want to become a good UX and UI designer, this is the tool that you need to get familiar with. Now, I'm not gonna go deeper into this topic because I have already created a full course where I teach people how to design their first mobile application for both light and a dark theme. You can also check the link down in the video description. By the way, you can also use Figma to create prototypes. A prototype is when you give a life to your design project by adding interactions. Prototyping is a crucial phase in the design and development process where designers and developers create an early model of a sample of a product to test and validate ideas before full-scale production. This process helps in visualizing how the final project will look like and function. However, for most of your personal projects, having a design project only is enough. Even though the prototyping is not hard, it still requires you to invest some time into it. Now, before you start working on your design, you should also analyze your competitor. Analyzing popular applications in your niche can help you understand what works best and what doesn't. Learning from your competition can provide valuable insights into effective design practices. If you take a look at one of the biggest companies around the world, they all tend to copy their own competitors. Like, for example, when Instagram or Snapchat first introduced stories, other companies stole that idea and incorporated it into their own product, because they've all seen how good people react with that new feature. Now, I'm not saying that you should copy and paste other people's work, but you should take some good initiatives from others, combine them with your own touch, and even create some brand new feature which is even better. When you get into the world of UX and UI design, your first application design is gonna be awful. And that's a fact, which is normal. From my personal experience, I can tell you that the more you practice and design, the better you'll become. And there is no shortcut for that. Now, simplicity is the key. You need to learn to add only those elements that are necessary and avoid adding some junky components that you're not gonna even use. Your users will appreciate if you keep things simple and clean. Just look at some other popular applications and you will understand. Bottom line, practice beats talent. The last thing which I want to share with you in this video is a couple of useful resources that you're gonna use on a daily basis once you start with your design project. First, let's start with the inspirational websites. The two most popular websites where you can find an inspiration from other designers that have already made some UX and UI designs for various products are Dribbble and Behance. There, you will find dozens of great projects from which you can get a thing or two. Next, we have stock images. Stock images are inevitable when doing any kind of a project design. There are also a bunch of different websites where you can get those photos for free, like Unsplash, Pexels, Kaboom Pics, and others. Next, we have icons. So for the icons, you can check Material Design website. Then there are also feather icons, hero icons, flat icons, and more. Some of these websites also have a plugin for Figma, so that you don't have to leave your environment when searching for these resources. Now, when you are choosing a brand color for your project, it can be challenging. However, within Figma, you have an option to create styles. And styles allow you to apply those colors to your elements. But not just that. If you decide to change your application design theme, you can just change the colors in one place, and then the whole project will update immediately. Which means you can preview your project with multiple different color schemas without too much overhead. Anyhow, the Color Hunt website is one of the best websites that I have found for these purposes. Anyhow, for us Android developers, there is also a website called Material Theme Builder, where we can add a few colors and generate the whole theme for a Jetpack Compose. And all of that in just a few clicks, which is amazing. And lastly, we have typography. There is no a better resource for typography better than Google Fonts. There you can filter through various font categories and even preview the text on this same website before downloading the font. You don't need anything more than that, honestly. Bottom line, if you are planning to work in a company where there are a dedicated team of designers, then you don't necessarily need to be proficient in that area. However, if you are planning to work on your own projects or as a freelance developer, then this is the skill that you're gonna have to acquire. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think design skills are important? Also, don't forget to leave a like, but only if you find this video helpful. Thank you for watching.